Hey, this is Derek. So the last 48 hours I've been awake trying to finish this vampire novel I've been working on and get it out into the world. I set up the book on pre-order to force myself to get it done, which means I have to meet the deadline and upload the file. If I don't upload a finished file, then everybody gets whatever crappy rough draft I had uploaded earlier, which I didn't want to happen and which I've done in the past. So this video specifically, I wanted to address an interesting issue. I'm maybe talking in circles because I'm really tired because I've been up for a long time. But the idea is the craft and perfection. So how to write the perfect book. And it's a simple concept that I think can be very profound. And I'll try to get to it very quickly. And it's just this. The only way to write a perfect book is to write lots of imperfect books first, because you don't learn anything when you write a perfect book. Like if you already know how to do everything and you just write it perfectly the first time, that doesn't happen because you haven't learned all the stuff that you need to learn about writing books to even write a shitty book. Like you need to learn to write shitty books before you can get to writing a perfect book. So a lot of authors, they have an intention to write a perfect book. They want to write a perfect book, and they'll spend 5 or 10 years trying to make their book perfect. And I won't even go into, perfection is ambiguous, and most readers don't care about perfection. They care about content. They care about your story or the information you're providing. So I won't even go into all that other stuff about, defining perfection. I think a good book or a good enough book is one that readers love and are happy to pay you for and that you enjoyed writing. I think that's, a perfect book. No book will be, nobody will judge a book perfectly. Everybody will find faults with every book. The idea behind perfection is at least when you finish the book, you would put out a clean, finished, beautiful manuscript before showing it to anyone, before showing it to the world. And I get some criticism because I don't do that. I make lots of mistakes and I fail quickly. It upsets a lot of people that, and it upsets my readers. And I'm not proud of the fact that I just have published this book. And I really want to get to the end chapter. In the past, sometimes I don't quite get to the final few scenes that I want to, and then I end up publishing something and saying, I'll send you the last chapter by email. I've done that in the past. It's not the end of the world. I've also sent out, I didn't meet my deadline and they sent out a pretty crappy rough draft unfinished copy. All I do is email my list and say, I'm really sorry you got the wrong file. I'd be happy to send you a replacement. That can negate the damage, but ideally you don't want to do that. Of course, you want to have a clean manuscript out. The problem is, this is a book I was working on for 5 or 6 months. I actually started it like 2 years ago. So the problem is I don't get the work done. I think most authors just never get the work done. They don't do the work. You can, if I write, and I'm actually really focused on boosting my productivity and my word count, specifically by trying how to learn how to write perfect books. So my goal is not to write a perfect book. My goal is to learn how to write perfect books. To do that, I have to focus on the process and I have to publish lots of books. You don't learn how to write a perfect book by practicing once but publishing never. You don't really learn the important things you need to learn about writing or building your platform or getting response from readers or knowing if anybody likes the kind of books that you're writing. You won't know any of that stuff until you publish. So I've allowed myself to publish before I'm ready, which annoys a lot of people. It annoys some of my readers. It annoys some other authors who follow me. They don't like the idea of putting, unfinished products out there. And I completely understand that. And like I said, I'm not proud of the way I'm doing it, except for the fact that by being okay putting out imperfect novels quickly, by setting myself hard deadlines where I have to get it done. I didn't sleep for 48 hours. It was very stressful. I barely got it done. I ended up finishing the last chapter. The last chapter is still pretty rough. It's clean enough to read, but it could be a lot better. And at this point, there's a lot of detail. So it really needs another round of editing where I focus on specific details and consistency. I'm sure there's some typos in there. There's also one little paragraph of notes. They're not really embarrassing notes. They're just notes to myself like, this is a scene I would like to have here. And I say what happens in the scene, but I didn't actually write the scene. So of course, that's embarrassing to go out. I didn't promote this pre-order very hard because I wasn't really confident that I would get it done. I've written books in a month before, but I've been going through a dry spell. I had a really difficult time getting through this particular book, but I wanted to force myself to do the work, because if I'm writing like 1,200 words a day or 1,500 words a day, even 1,000 words a day, which I think you can do in a couple hours, even if you haven't really developed a writer's habit yet, even 1,000 words a day, that's 30,000 words a month. I should be able to finish a 90K novel every 3 months or so. The problem is, if you take that same novel and you spread it out over a year or 2 years and you're only writing a couple hundred words a day, that doesn't mean it's going to be a better novel, because a lot of this stuff, a lot of the fine-tuning stuff, especially in regards to the writing, doesn't happen until you finish the story. So I put up some videos recently on editing. I went through my shitty rough draft, which is the hardest thing for me to finish a first draft and actually know what happens. Then I go through and clean it up to a clean rough draft where I kind of have the what's actually there. I have the story. Then you start going back and you flesh out the details. You make the writing better. You make the dialogue better. You focus on what they're wearing and the background, the setting, all that really beautiful, good writing stuff. That happens in the late stages of writing. So if you start off trying to write a perfect book and you don't allow yourself to write, the first 3 shitty rough drafts, which are kind of integral to the writing process, eventually later, I would like to, like I said, I'm focusing on the process really hard. So I'm not trying to write a perfect book. I'm trying to get better at creating more content faster, creating better quality books faster. So eventually I can skip the shitty rough draft. I can just write a clean rough draft. I may even try writing a public rough draft where I just sit down and write 1,000 words a day on Wattpad or a public forum where people can actually see what I'm working on. I'd like to be getting better at doing a one-pass first rough draft that's clean enough to send to an editor and just get it published. Will it be perfect? No, but a lot of it is just figuring out how to be consistent with the content that I'm producing. I don't want to be, I don't want to get depressed for 3 months and not do any writing and then take a year off and then start the novel again when I'm a completely different person in 3 years. That's not a lucrative, profitable process. It's not even an artistic process that helps you to put out high quality work. So I don't believe that sitting and letting it stew for a long period of time or stuffing it in your drawer for years will help. The only way to get better at writing and to eventually write, perfect books is to really focus on putting more books out more quickly without worrying so much about the quality. So that's kind of my little tip of the day. Of course, we should strive for perfection, but the only way to reach perfection is to go through the process of being imperfect, to be okay with being imperfect, and getting that down anyway. Because if you feel too uncomfortable being imperfect and you strive for perfection all the time and you never put your work out there, you won't learn as fast as you need to really become a full-time writer. A lot of people spend 10 or 20 years, they always want to be a writer, but they never finish anything, they never publish anything, or they're always working on something that nobody else really wants to read, and they're excited about doing the work, and they're trying to write a perfect book for themselves. But if nobody else likes it, I define at least quality of the book as influenced by or calculated by completely the amount of people willing to spend money and who enjoy your book. I think that's a good mark of the quality of a book. Not everybody agrees with me on that. And you may want to write that perfect book that only sells 100 copies because there's only 100 readers who get what you were trying to do. That's fine if that's what you want to be working on. I think writing is a skill that, like anything else, needs to be developed by butt in the chair hard work. You need to sit down, you need to write a few million words before you figure out how to be a writer and what kind of books sell. A million words is 10 novels roughly. So you need to write 10 novels to figure stuff out. That doesn't mean you can't earn money from those 10 novels. You could earn a lot of money from those 10 novels and then get everything dialed in and really figure out, after you've written 10 mediocre novels that readers kind of like and they kind of earn money, which I think you should be doing. I don't think you should be focusing on writing crappy books that don't sell. I think you should be focusing on writing books that readers love and that sell even if they aren't perfect books. I think that's my goal. I take a lot bigger risks than I think most authors are comfortable with, and I'm not necessarily telling you to do that. I would love to have, you know, enough time to really only publish perfect drafts, not even drafts, perfect books, clean books that are wonderful and readers love, that have no problems. I would love to get to that point. I'm getting to that point by publishing lots of books and figuring out what works for me, and how to get on a schedule, how long it takes me to go from blank page to, you know, 100,000 words of highly polished, edited prose, fiction, and nonfiction. I'm learning how to do that stuff. I've written probably 10 or 15 books, and I still feel like I'm playing, you know, fumbling around in the dark, figuring things out. But I'm also learning very quickly, and my books are earning more money. So I know when I launch a new book, when I launch this book that isn't perfect, and I said this at the beginning of this video, that I didn't really promote it because I wasn't sure how many sales I wanted to get, because I wasn't sure if I could reliably put out a quality book that was on pre-order. And a lot of my readers and followers actually know this, so I didn't sell so many. I sold maybe 50 copies. I sent it out to my list once, but I didn't really hard sell it. I'm not gonna sell it again before the pre-order goes out. What basically happens is I hit my my deadline. Now it's 3 days. It used to be like 24 hours before the publishing date. Now it's 3 days in advance. So I had to upload a manuscript, and I only got it up like 30 minutes in advance. I had to like clean it and format it and uploaded it like 20 minutes before my timer ran out. But it's done. So now it's not perfect, but it's done. Now I can go through, like over the next 3 days until it's actually launched, I can go through and fine tune it and make it really good. Then I can send an email to my list. Actually, I'll probably send out an email before, like right before it launched, just telling my list, you know, there were a couple errors, a couple typos, a little paragraph. As if my list and followers know that they're not going to run to Amazon and leave negative reviews, they'll just wait for an updated copy. Everybody else, I'll kind of just wait till the book is actually showing the updated copy. So I can't upload a new version right now. I have to wait until the book publishes officially. Then I can start running ads. I can do giveaways. I can send out ARC. I should have sent out ARC copies, you know, weeks ago. But because I was up against the deadline, and what I'm finding works for me is putting a book up on pre-order and then just meeting that deadline. Unfortunately, I'm just finishing the book and I'm not really leaving myself enough time for the revision and the editing, but I'm still figuring out how to set myself a hard deadline to finish the book and also leave room and space for editing. I'll probably have to figure out some kind of a system to do that. Anyway, so this video was just on the one specific topic. I'm not a fan of writing perfect books. I'm a fan of trying to learn how to write perfect books, which is a completely different thing. I hope you got the point of this video. I hope it makes sense for you. Leave me comments down below. Don't leave me hate mail. I'm gonna go to sleep. I don't like negative comments. I'll probably sleep for a couple days. I'm actually in WDS, so WDS is World Domination Summit in Portland, Oregon. That's a big conference I go to every year. So we're back in Portland for the summer. And now that this novel is done, I'm going to really focus on my nonfiction stuff for a while, finish up a couple of my new courses and programs, fix a few of my older courses and programs. I have a lot of really cool tools that I've been working on for a long time. I'm going to try to share with you this summer. I also hope to, like I said, dial down the writing process. I would like to finish 2 more novels this summer. So another full novel in July, another full novel in August, both of which would be, you know, 80,000 words or so. So that's ambitious. I wanted to do 12 books this year and I just couldn't do it. I also, something else I didn't say in this video, which I'm curious about, I think there's a period of depression when you finish a book and you finish it and you're relieved, but you also feel really depressed and you get into that, you know, is anybody gonna like it? I think the book sucks, especially when you get into the editing stages. You're like, this is boring, that this isn't gonna work. I have so much work to do, I'm never gonna hit my deadline. There's a stage in writing a book which includes depression for most people. And this stage could last a week, it could last a month. I think it's probably important not to try to push through that stage, that depressive stage, the postpartum depression of finishing a great work of art or literature, I think there is an emotional abyss that you're left with after you finish something you've been working on for a long time. So I see a lot of stuff on Facebook like, how do I push through it? How do I keep writing? How do I move from one book to the next? I think for me to accomplish that, I'm going to have to schedule in, a week of watching Netflix, a week of not writing, not working, not doing anything, maybe a week of just doing, like, feeling crappy about everything without forcing myself to work on the book or forcing myself to work on something else. That might be what works for me or you or somebody else. But I think it may be harmful to just, try to push over the depression or be like, oh, why am I depressed? I just need more confidence with this book. I think depression might be a recognizable part of the process, which you can use to your advantage. And instead of just spiraling out, and giving up or whatever, you can just say, okay, I'm at the stage of my book where I feel depressed for a week. I'm going to eat ice cream and watch Netflix and then come back to it. If you know that's coming and you know you need that break, that might be something that's worthwhile to do. I'm going to focus a lot this summer on improving my writing speed, plotting, fiction, nonfiction, building the architecture. I'm going to build some cheat sheets and plotting guides that you can use for your own books and try to kind of dig into my process so that I can share it with you, but also so I can really fine tune what my process actually is, what works the best for me, how I can finish a good, perfect, full novel quickly and get it out to my readers without, typos or mistakes, and really have a finished novel. That's where I'm working towards. I would like to be there by the end of this year and to be able to, I don't think I need to put out a book a month. I'm happy putting out, a really good book every 3 months and do 4 books a year. I think that's probably more my style. But I also do really want to focus on writing longer series of shorter books. And the shorter books would be like 40 or 50K, and those I should be able to finish in a month. So I'd like to I have a 7-book series and a 5-book series mapped out, and of like 40 or 50K, and I would like to spend a whole year publishing 12 books and 2 long series and just rapid releasing all of those books. Those are all much more marketable books, which will perform better. I have a lot of standalones, a lot of longer novels, which readers really like, but they're not as good as they could be, and they're not as commercial as they could be. So I'm kind of still working on all those things, but I'm also shifting towards newer books that'll earn a lot more money and be easier and more enjoyable to write, that my readers will also appreciate more. So I'm going to stop this video and go to bed. I hope you're having a lovely summer. I hope to see you again soon on my channel or somewhere else on the internet. Bye-bye.